I'm Don Trahan, the swing surgeon, Director of Golf Instruction for Sea Pines Resort on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. During my 20 years of teaching, I've developed some training aids to help my students learn and feel a better golf swing. I'd like to introduce you to one of them, the Swing Surgeon's Alignment Arrows. What I just did here was my pre-swing or pre-shot routine. It's a vitally important part of approaching and hitting every golf shot. Why? Because it helps you do two critically important things. The first would be to get into a good setup. Because as you know from my teaching, my number one premise is the setup determines the motion. If you want to have a consistent swing time after time, you first must start with a consistent posture. The second part of that is it helps you get into better alignment. That is vitally critical because, again, the best hit shot going to the wrong place is still not a good golf shot. And I'm sure many of you have suffered through that where you feel like you've made a great swing and a great hit, but the ball ends up in the right bunker or the right rough or the right woods, and you're trying to figure out, why did I make such a good hit and it went the wrong place? Well, it really didn't go the wrong place. It went right where you were aimed. It's your alignment that was incorrect. Alignment is vitally important to successfully swinging a golf club, to aim where you want the ball to go. And there's problems that happen here, brought on by sight and other situations, that we're going to discuss and teach you how to line up better. So, if you want to play better, get that setup routine and get that alignment down. Because I've considered and concluded that 95% of all swing problems arise out of alignment. The question that has to be asked now is, what is alignment? Well, it's the positioning of the body at address so that when the arms and club are swung back and through, they will be swung on a straight line back and through right towards the target. Okay? Over the years, when I've asked folks, what's your definition of alignment? The most common statement is that, well, I aim my body at the target. I put my shoulder at the target. Well, that would imply that your arms are now being in front of your body, will be way to the right. So we have to look at what is good or proper alignment. It's what is known as the parallel line or the railroad track principle, as demonstrated here on the ground. The outside line in which the ball is usually on, that is a straight line that goes straight to the target. Your club face is square when your club face is at a right angle to that line. Your body is in proper alignment and square when the line from your toes to your knees, to your hips, to your shoulders, and your eyes are all parallel left of that line. So your body is left. Your arms hang in front of you, and they swing in front of you, back and through. And for that to happen, the target must therefore be in front of you. So that's what proper alignment would be. Parallel line or the railroad track principle. Another way to think about this and visualize what alignment is to think of your club as a gun. And if we were going to shoot this as a rifle, how do we aim? Do we aim our body at the target? Or do we aim the rifle at the target? There's no doubt we aim the rifle at the target, and therefore your body is to the left. Well, when it comes to hitting a golf ball, you aim your club and your ball at the target, and your body will be on that parallel left line. Probably another easy, simple explanation would be to make believe you're going to toss the ball to the target. Again, if you aimed your body at the target and just swung your arm straight back and straight through, you'd be tossing it way out into right field. But we want to toss it right straight forward, like to the pitcher's mound. So to do that, we have to stand beside the ball and swing straight back and straight through our arms in front of us. So think of alignment as that you have to be beside the ball because your arms are in front and they need to swing in front of you, both ways, back and through. So alignment, parallel left. As we've already discussed, standing up and aligning oneself square, that is, the lines from the toes, the knees, the hips, and the shoulders being parallel left, will produce a swing that will hit the ball relatively straight. Most of us are, for the most part, trying to hit the ball straight. So, what is bad alignment? How does it hurt us? Well, that would imply that somewhere along the line, your feet, if the back foot is drawn back from the parallel line, you have you aiming to the right, you would be what we call in a closed position. And you'd be basically closed or shut if your entire set of lines, toes, knees, hips, and shoulders are all aiming to the right. Conversely, if we flip that around and drop the left side back all the way up from toes to shoulders, that would be basically what we call open, very much into the slice shots that you'll have. The biggest problem that I see, though, is that people get tricked. They get their right foot drawn back, and then they open their shoulder up. So now they actually get into what I call a crisscross body. The lower body's aiming to the right, and the upper body's aiming to the left. That's a real power leak because you have your body crisscrossing or contradicting itself. And boy, that really brings out the outside in and a steep angle of attack hitting the ground, hitting a lot of pop-ups with the woods and topping it with the irons. That's probably the worst of them all, having the crisscross body. And most of the time, it's always lower body to the right, upper body to the left. And the upper's to the left all the time because it's trying to open up to see the target so that you can swing to the target. So the key is to learn to walk in and get everything parallel left from the toes all the way up to the shoulders and eyes. Well, here they are, the answer to help you to learn how to align up to the ball better, to learn that setup routine that'll help you get into a proper posture and a proper alignment time after time. The Swing Surgeon's Alignment Arrows. What we have are 2 arrows, 3 feet long, notches in each, and our crossbar or our ball position bar with 2 notches. The notches allow us to set the arrows in at right angles so that we effectively have done what I call making our H. In other words, everything is right angles. Proper alignment is setting up and playing golf at right angles. Club face is always lined up on your outside line, and your body will be lined up parallel left on your inside line. So when you put your arrows to the ground, you'll also notice that there's some holes in them so that you can actually come in and secure the arrows to the ground by just sticking a hole in the tee and holding them in place. So your arrows go on the ground, they're flat, that way we can take them and practice at home or in your office so you can get some good practicing walking into the ball away from the golf course also. Let's get back and talk about pre-shot routine again. Why is it important? Because that's what sets up the posture and alignment, as we've already stated. Watching TV, I think you've noticed that all the players start back here. It's not an accident. They practice this. They've been taught to do this because it helps in those 2 areas of alignment and posture. What they're doing is, first and foremost, they're finding an imaginary spot on the ground in front of the ball. From there, they're going to stand back here and draw a line from the ball through that spot to the target. They're drawing their line of flight. They do it from back here because this is the only place, the way your eyes are designed to see, that you can see an absolute straight line. Plus, they'll do a little of what we call mental visualization. They're going to see and feel in their mind themselves making a swing and hitting the ball and the ball flying on the trajectory and flight pattern they want. And once they've locked all of that in and they have that spot there, they're then going to walk to the side of the ball and walk in and do their setup routine, where they're going to draw a line from that spot to the ball, which I call the first line, and put the club down perpendicular to it. Then they draw a second line in from the ball, perpendicular to the first line. That tells them their ball position. And then they draw a third line over here, and that's the line that they will separate their toes on when they're going to hit the ball. And that's how they get in there nice and square. Now, why again is all this important? It's because when you get to the side of the ball, standing above it, and you now look down from the ball to the spot to that target, the line that you saw behind it that was a nice, perfectly straight line, that line has now become an optical illusion. It is no longer straight. it is curved or ellipsed from right to left. More right-eye dominant you are, and 97% plus of all the golfers in the world, all the people in the world, are right-eye dominant. That means that because your right eye is your eye behind the ball, that curve is even greater curve from right to left. And therefore, the majority of all golfers, no matter how diligently, how precisely and expertly you will attempt to get over this golf ball, from over there, you will have a great tendency to be aimed to the right. And that's what this is going to help you overcome. Again, the other important factor here, when we come back to talking about our little spot in front, as you notice here, I have 2 tees in front of the ground. They're only 1 inch apart. Go out to the golf course and try this test. Stand back here and draw a line from the ball through the correct tee, which I have to the left at your target, and it goes through the target. Then draw a line from the ball through the right tee, say at a target 150 yards out, and figure out how far to the right that tee is. It'll scare you. Basically, a good rule of thumb is, if you make a 1 inch mistake, 3 feet in front of the ball, 1 inch, 3 feet in front of the ball, flares or fans out at a rate of about 10 yards every 100 yards on a perfectly straight shot. 10 yards. So what does that mean? That means you must be very, very careful, very precise on picking that spot, number one, because it can fan out to a really big mistake. And number two, you have to be very careful about when you come in and draw your lines in here, which I call making the H, your 2 parallel lines in your crossbar, that you keep them on that target so that you can have proper alignment. Not really a good case of making my H. What was the problem here? Well, the whole concept of making the H is square alignment is being at right angles. Club face at right angles to the target, and then the body at parallel angle to that, which would be a right angle to the club face. Now, the easiest way to accomplish that when you walk into the golf ball is to always come in and set the right foot at exactly a right angle to the ball position bar. Then from there you can just walk straight in, keeping the club face perpendicular, and then you separate the feet equally apart right on the line. Naturally, the tendency is, if I come in at an angle to the ball position bar, it's very easy to separate the wrong way. Another major problem is golfers walk in actually from the wrong quadrant. I've seen many golfers walk in from this quadrant, and then the highly problem you're going to run into here is that you will end up being dead shut to your target, which will mean you'll either have to pull your body out of the way or some form of swinging out of your body with some form of reverse weight shift, because you really have your body in the way. That is between your arms and the club and the target. So the key here is to walk in at right angles to get this foot settled in here. That's why in the H, the crossbar that we call the ball position bar is so long, because it helps you to start learning where to put your foot down at a right angle, and therefore be able to develop that sense of right angleness in your body relative to your aiming line, which will keep your body parallel left. A good way to check this would be, when you're standing here, you could just look up. You should always feel that the target is directly in front of your body, out here. You could just stand here and just lift your left arm straight up and look down your arm, sort of sighting it like a gun, and naturally this arm should be pointing to the left of your target. If it is in fact pointing at your target or right of your target, then you know you're aimed to the right and have a shut or a closed stance. If perchance it's really kind of aiming a little far left, and that imaginary line to your target and this are starting to look like a pie, then you know you're open. What you want to see is kind of nice 2 lines looking down here like a bowling alley, and then you know you're pretty good alignment. Naturally, as clubs get longer and you start getting farther left of your target, these lines will look a little wider. You may appear to be as far as 25 yards left of your target with a driver. So when you stand real close to the ball, your body will be real close, parallel left. And when you have a long club and you're standing very far from the ball, you will still be parallel left, but a lot farther apart. This is a progression. You get wider here, you'll be wider out there. And again, don't forget, you can always check it with our little sense of tossing the ball to the target. Straight back, straight through with the arms, should go right at the target, and you're parallel left, lined up square. Once you practice your routine of walking in and making your H and getting your feet down square, the final important ingredient to this is to make sure that you get your shoulders square to your feet. The feet are important because the body tends to follow the feet, but after that, if the shoulders aren't correct, then you got our crisscross problem again. Most of the time, the shoulders will always tend to be open, which will pull the shoulders and the hips a little to the left. Basically, that happens because once you're over the ball and you turn your head to look at the target, the turning of your head pulls your neck and your shoulders with it and naturally right down to your hips. So if you watch a lot of savvy tour players, you'll notice that most of the time when they get over the ball and they're standing here and they've looked at it a few times, and again you'll notice all the good players basically just roll their head. They never stand up and look at it because you've completely lifted yourself out of position. So when you've walked in, I like to see all my players, once you're in posture, never change. Because standing up, you'll almost never get back down. So you stay put, just roll your head. And one of the last things you'll find, and you probably need someone to look at you and check this out, or maybe in the house use a window or a mirror, but you'll find that most times if you just kind of turn your hip just a little to the right, feel like you just turn your hip about 1 inch, most of the time that'll square it up. And that 1 inch can be a lot, because if 1 inch for your ball position alignment can make 10 yards every 100 yards, shoulders can do the same thing. So practice getting those shoulders over the toes, and most likely I think you'll find that a little twist of the hip 1 inch or so to the right will square up your shoulders and keep them right over your toes so that you'll be perfectly square. Another feature of the alignment arrows is that you can put them on the putting green and use them as a putting track. Naturally, because you can space them wherever you want, you can tighten this track up to really work on keeping your stroke really straight back and straight through. So, as we know, a putting stroke is achieved, like every hit, straight back and straight through. The arrows will help you see that. So, you can set them up and practice straight putts, or even as the cases I had right here, this is like a 1 ball outside the right edge hole putt. In fact, I really think the arrows can help you more in your putting, practicing breaking putts. I just use my alignment arrows as my putting track to practice a breaking putt. Somehow we always seem to forget the value that a putting track can have in teaching us breaking putts. We always just think about using them to make those 3, 4, 5, 6 foot straight putts. But remember one thing, a straight putt is the same as a breaking putt in the sense that it's always straight. So whether you have a 6 foot break, it still starts out as a straight putt. So the alignment arrows will help you make that straight stroke to your high point that you want that ball to be from where it'll take the break to the hole. So use your alignment arrows in their putting track, but not just for straight putts. Start using on some breaking putts, and I think you'll find that you start making a lot more of those and become a better overall putter.